Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Another Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's complaining about Monday nights.
I saw somebody because it's supper time in one
For
of the
some
provinces,
people.
right?
Oh, okay.
Which I know is not good, but
We got to work
mornings is really not good for me.
And we got to go with Miss Queen here.
Yeah. Well, for me to get here at 9, I'd have to start at 5, getting
your husband
showered
ready.
and dressed, and then me and whatever.
Yeah, we're
do
doing,
his
we're doing
physio.
the best we can do.
Yeah,
You do physio, what, 2 or 3 times a day with him?
twice a day, morning and night. Yeah.
Wow. Hi, Kendra. Hi, Patty. Hi, Sandy. Welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah, I am really impressed with the people that are posting their pictures.
I know, right?
This is one of the most
And
posted.
I love everybody, like seeing all the different choices that they've picked for
Yes.
fabrics and how everybody has different tastes. And that's what makes quilting so fun, in my opinion.
It is. It's nice to see.
I hope that wasn't
everybody's
Wally collapsing out there. It was an awful big bang.
Oh my.
Noticing we didn't get up to go check.
Or even holler.
What did you say about me?
Nothing.
Okay. Cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Goodbye, Wally.
Okay.
Okay. So, hi, Tiana. So we are going to get right into it. We're doing 4 blocks again this week.
Yes, we are.
Even
We're
though
doing
one is a lot of work.
2. Yep, 4
Okay.
blocks.
So do we have the first one I can post up here?
Just a minute here. Don't rush me, okay?
Oh, okay.
Number 1, I'm on a stool that I'm trying to fall off of here because I'm not really coordinated.
Don't fall. We don't want any more
I can't
injuries.
find my blocks. Give me a minute. Okay. So the first block we're doing is
So Kendra says, so why is my hubby calling the shop? Kendra, I wasn't here all day, so I would have no idea.
I wasn't either. I wasn't.
Maybe
It's a surprise.
all
Maybe
I
you're
can
not
say-
supposed to ask questions
Yeah, you
this
don't
close
ask
to Christmas.
this close to, I have
Never.
no idea.
So this is a simple. Oh, that looks much better with my face covered. There.
If you do that or your boobs or lack of.
Blackout. There you go.
There we go.
So, simple snowball. Can't get any easier than that, guys.
No.
So, as you can tell, this is made up of 4 quadrants again. They're each 4.5 inches square. And so, therefore, it's going to be 8.5 by 8.5 when it's done. And 2 opposite ones, you put the dark in the middle with the light around the corners. And then these 2, you put your light background in the middle with your dark around the corners.
Oh, I never noticed that until you pointed that out.
Yes.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
why it gives it that effect.
Now, you don't have to do that. You do whatever you want, but that's the way
That's
I
what
did
you
it.
did it.
That's what I did.
And
So that one is super easy. Like, that's just snowballed corners, and the measurements are there. I really don't think we need to discuss much about that one. That's pretty simple. I went totally scrappy, though, see?
I see that.
Like, every corner I did different, so you guys could do,
they could all be the same.
they could all be the same, and I even did scrappy backgrounds.
Oh,
right?
I see that.
But if you're using one
One piece,
consistent background,
It's going
in
to
your,
look good.
that'll be fine. Whatever you decide to do. And you wouldn't have to use background. You could use like a very pale, lighter fabric
Yes,
and
you
darker
could.
or whatever.
Yes,
Not
you could use a
necessarily your
flower print
background.
or-
Yes, you could use whatever you wanted, right?
Yep.
So that's number 1. So that one's easy. No
Mhm.
challenge there, guys.
This next one doesn't look too bad either.
It's not.
But I like it.
I don't know how you want to hold that.
Well, it might
whichever
look
way.
better this way.
There you go.
I think.
So this is the zigzag. Boy, these poor blocks getting lugged around in my car all smushed up. It's not doing them any good, is it?
Well, they look pretty darn good from my point of view.
Because I don't even take them in the house anymore. Like, the containers just stay in the car, and I found them the other day with grocery bags sitting on top of the baskets. So,
Because you have them all made. It's not like you go home and
no,
work
I
on
don't go home and make them. They're all made, right? So they
Yeah.
get lugged around and squished and sat on and everything else.
Okay.
So here, each one of these is a 2.5 by 4.5 each rectangle right there, right?
Oh, and you snowballed your rectangle bit, really.
So it's basically like a flying geese, but instead of going to make your point in the middle, you just make sure that these 2 seams are running parallel to each other, right?
Oh, that's nice.
Right? So start your first piece like you would for a for flying geese.
Mm-hmm.
And then your next one, just don't put it going that way. Make sure that you've got it going so that this line and this line are parallel. And then your next one, when you set them together, make sure that you get your V going, right?
I have a question.
Sure.
Because I have a hard time thinking. Are these all made the same and you just flip one up upside down?
That's a good question.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm just looking. I can't figure it out.
Sorry.
Like I made these so long ago. Good heavens. Here, let me look. No, they're different, right? Because there's no way I can turn that one to make it the same as that, right?
I wondered if you had made them all the same.
Let me read if the directions. Can you guys tell that I didn't? Yes, make sure. It says right here. When all else fails, read the directions. Make sure that in each color, you make half of the rectangles going in one direction, and then when you do the other half, that it's going in the other direction. So there's 8 of these across, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there? 10. 10. 2, 4, 6, 8. 10 across. So you're going to make 5 with the diamonds going on one side and 5 with them going the other way.
See, Kendra isn't even here, and she could look and say they're different.
Yes, I know.
Like,
right?
I'm not that.
I am directionally challenged when it comes to stuff like that. I have to almost...
Obviously, Kendra isn't.
Yeah, obviously. So, the good news about that is, as you're doing your 5 going one way and your 5 going the other, press the ones going one way towards the dark and press the ones going the other way towards the light, and then they'll nest, right?
Yeah.
So, just make sure you press one bunch going to the light and one bunch going to the dark. And this block makes a block that is 8.5 by 20.5. Yep, 8.5 by 20.5 when it's all together. But each one of these is 4.5 by 2.5. Okay. So easy peasy.
That's number 2.
And so on this one, I did my backgrounds all the same and one consistent color on the top and the same on the bottom. But you could go scrappy there too if you wanted to.
That would be cute.
You could go scrappy. If you're doing right out of your scrap bucket, go for it.
Yeah, that would be cute.
There are a couple people who have told me they are doing
tonight.
Ooh, no.
Oh, maybe she's gonna miss the tonight.
That doesn't mean she won't have them done by 6 o'clock in the morning or by midnight. That woman's right.
She messaged and said she liked what she was getting sent for the prizes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is this split cube.
That's an easy one too.
It is. It's easy, easy, easy. So those are 4.5 inches, and you're going to make 2 and join them together. So you get a 4.5 by 8.5. And again, it's just echoing and sewing these 2 pieces together first, and then adding your top and your bottom.
Oh, she is there. She's just being silent.
Oh, you're there. Okay, very good. So that one is easy peasy too. Like can't
and you
go
could
wrong with that.
You could do those both blue if you want it.
You could do them both the same.
What do you think it would look like if you put this one color and this a different color?
I don't know.
It probably wouldn't look echoey, but
it probably wouldn't look quite as echoey, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, quite as split in half as that one is, like the reverse image or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
But it would be cute.
So the next thing is the trickiest one, but it's still not tricky because it's an easy, easy peasy paper piecing. So we did really easy for anybody that's, because we have a few new beginners working on this.
But it's a cute block.
So when I originally showed you guys, I showed this one. But when I laid it out with all the quilt blocks, I didn't like that it didn't have some lighter background in it.
So she redid it.
So I went with this one. Just for my colors, that seemed to be where I had it in the quilt, what I needed. I didn't like it being dark.
Marilyn says she's silent because she's there picking her fabrics already.
Well, there you go. She probably is, right? Or anything I gave measurements, she could be whipping them up right now.
Yeah, she's making her quilt out of her prizes.
Yeah. So this is what I ended up doing, but you guys can do whatever you want. So it's 2, when we do this, I'm going to show you how to draw the template so that you don't have to, because sometimes on these sew-alongs, the trickiest part of paper piecing is if we send a link or an attachment for you to download. If your printer isn't set to the correct setting, it won't make the right size block. And that seems to be a challenge, which I understand because I'm not technologically great either. So we're going to show you how to draw this and make it. And it's made of 2 separate blocks, so you're going to do 2 of them. But now Deb's going to take the camera out because I'm going to show you how to draw it.
Okay. Audrey, we might be picking on you each week, and it's all in fun. We really like the fact that you're really challenged to try to get your blocks done. Take nothing we say to heart.
That's right.
Just like Lynn Noggle doesn't take anything to heart.
Exactly right.
When we start picking on you, that means you're part of the family.
So,
you got to take it apart because it won't come out.
oh, there you go.
There we go.
So I'm going to use this table here.
Okay, I'm going to turn this around so you can see what she's
And I can
doing.
find my paper that I had somewhere. Here it is. Is that going to show up on that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So we know that our block, let me grab it. We know that our block is this.
Mm-hmm.
That's one block. And we know that it's 4.5 inches. So I could cheat because I have a 4.5 inch square ruler. But if you don't, you're just going to start by drawing with any size ruler. Like you could even...
She likes my big ruler.
You could even do this and get your 2 right, like a right angle there.
Yeah.
And then
measure.
turn it and measure and get your 4.5 with this. So you could use, if you don't have a 4.5 inch square ruler, don't panic.
Don't think you got to go buy one.
Right.
But we do sell them.
There she goes. So the first thing you're going to do is draw around your 4.5 inch ruler. Easy peasy, right? So now the next thing we have to talk about is unfinished and finished. So we know that once you take your block and you sew it totally into your quilt, not just in this part of it, but when you get, so there's already a 1/4 inch seam taken here down the center where it's joined to the other one. But when you sew it in, we're going to lose a 1/4 inch all the way around.
Correct.
So therefore, we're going to mark that 1/4 inch inside of this square. We're going to mark our seam allowance. I'm using a pen just because I thought it would show up better for you guys. Well, no, actually, that's a lie because I couldn't find a pencil in there. But I think I used pencil at home, but... So we're just drawing the 1/4 inch seam allowance in there. And none of this has to be fancy because the paper's coming off once you're done sewing, right? So now... From here,
What are you looking for?
well, I thought I had a paper, but I probably didn't bring it in with me. I probably didn't bring it. I can measure and do it. I had this stuff written down, but okay. So, no, I'm going to go find my paper. Hang on. I got stuff written in. Talk to them.
Talk to them. I don't
Sing
talk.
to them.
I don't sing. Don't sing at all. You guys want to see a mess? So this is me trying to get ready to move and throwing everything. So there is the perennial panels all cut. There's the background all cut. We've got like 94 people that ordered that perennial. That wasn't supposed to be here till January. Well, it's here now.
I'm so organized. I think it was in here after all. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. I can't find it. It doesn't matter. Oh, yes, it is. Look, there it is.
It just didn't go deep enough.
I just didn't go deep enough in the stack.
Okay.
So,
Debbie says you're getting painful now. Stop it. It's just a 1/4 inch, Debbie.
that is painful? Oh, my.
Well, I think that's what she means.
So, the next thing you're going to do is from one corner, you're going to measure 2 1/8 and make a little mark. So, from one corner,
I got to look it up, Linda. Sorry.
2 1/8 and make a mark.
2 1/8.
And then on the other side that touches it, not like over here somewhere, do another 2 1/8.
And these measurements are all in the instructions.
No, they're not.
Well, how are they going to know that?
They're gonna be when I go home. I gotta add them in.
Okay.
Okay, so then you're gonna draw straight line from those 2 points, and that's going to give us this measurement.
So let's repeat them for Audrey because she's going to want to start this right away. You go in 2 1/8.
2 1/8 on the corner each way. And what that gives you is a 3-inch line across here.
Okay.
So then you're going to mark at the 1 1/2. So that's halfway across that line.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to go draw a line from there up to this opposite corner. And I'm sitting down, so I might be off, but the ones that we sew on are not going to be off. But so up to that opposite corner. So then we also want to do halfway between this. So this was 1 1/2 inches across. So now you're going to do 3/4, right?
Mm-hmm.
From that line over 3/4,
Mm-hmm.
and from this line over this way 3/4. And then we know that this is a 4 1/2 inch unfinished. So we know that from here to here, the finished line, the seam allowance line, is 4 inches. So we're going to divide that in 2 and make a 2-inch mark on both of these sides. And then we're going to join our marks. And I'm sitting down and I can't really see good here because I should be standing up. So it might not look like. And then you're going to draw that. And then you're going to draw that.
Bonnie.
What?
Sweet baby Jesus, are you kidding?
Oh, come on!
It's when you rewatch the video, Bonnie.
Yes, so now we're going to recap.
She's going to recap for Bonnie and
So
Audrey.
the first thing you do is you take your 4 1/2 inch ruler and you draw all the way around it, or you use a bigger ruler and just draw a 4 1/2 inch square.
Yes.
Then take any ruler that will do it and mark a 1/4 inch inside your original 4 1/2 inch all the way around. So that's your seam allowance line, correct?
Yep.
Then here and here, this is 2 1/8 inch that you're going to make a mark right there,
Right there.
and there. Then you're
Gotcha.
going to draw that line.
Gotcha. And that equals a 3-inch line.
That makes this a 3-inch line. So then you're going to divide this 3-inch line into 4 segments. So
It's easier to go half.
yeah, so half is 1 1/2,
Yeah.
and then half of 1 1/2 is
0.75.
3/4. So make your mark there and there.
This is Audrey Adams' first paper piecing.
Oh, good.
Woohoo! Maybe somebody can catch Audrey this weekend.
So now we've got to find where we're going to attach this point up here. So we want it halfway on this line. So we know that this inner line, not counting your seam allowance, is 4 inches. So we're going to measure in 2 inches, right? And put a dot, and the same over here and put a dot. Then we're going to join that and that.
Can you make that 2 up there a 2? No, that next one.
2.
Just so when they're looking at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then we're going to join this middle dot to this middle corner, which I'm off there because I was sitting down and didn't have it lined up good. And that is your template. So you
Yes.
need to have, you can draw 2 or you can draw 1 and photocopy it, whatever you want. So
Okay.
that is your template. So that really is not that hard because all of you who sew can measure on a ruler and make a mark. I'm sure of
Right.
it because you measure to cut squares all the time.
And 2 1/8. An eighth is that first little line.
So on your rulers,
That's it.
those little tiny lines are the 1/8 marks, right?
So 2 1/8.
So 2,
1, 2, and
2,
an 8.
and that first little line is
That's
your
your
1/8. So it's the line before the 1/4 mark.
Yep.
Okay? So that's easy.
Yes, it is.
So that is how you draw your template. I will add a better picture, a neater one with it marked on when I get home.
Okay.
Okay, so now
Where do you start sewing? We're going to show you
we're
that.
going to show you that. We're going to show you.
She's going to make me sew it.
I am. But I'm going to go over a couple things. So for anybody who has never paper pieced, there's a couple things to remember. So the first thing I will tell you is there's a couple of good utensils, but you don't have to have them. This is called an add a quarter ruler, which is really helpful with paper piecing, but no, you do not have to have it. So this is an add a quarter plus, so what it has is it has a little lip right there. Like I can't run my fingernails down there and go off of it. It fetches up on this little lip. And that's for trimming your block if you want to be really precise each step of the way. But some people just use their scissors and just estimate a 1/4 of an inch seam to trim it.
But we're going to show them the right way.
We will show you the right way. This side has got a bit of a bevel. I don't know if you can see this. It's not, it comes to like a finer edge than that side. And that is to help you crease on your lines, which will make it a little bit easier when you're working on it to see how big your fabric needs to be or for it to tear off later. You can use that, or you can just take it.
Audrey, did you order that from me or somebody else? Because if you ordered it from me, I'm going to hold it so people can get ahead of you.
So you don't need this. If you don't have it and you want to do your block tonight, take your paper and just fold it where your line is.
Yeah, you don't need it.
You don't need it. You can crease with your
But
finger.
if this is your first paper piecing block, it's good to buy that ruler because you will go crazy over paper piecing.
Let me clarify that. I hate paper piecing.
Twyla, stop it. It's fun.
I shouldn't say
Then why did you put it in this block, in this quilt?
Because it's so long and you're supposed to be stretching people to do things. So.
Okay. Well, at least this stopped fighting.
So I like to fold all of my lines and just give them a little crease with my fingernail or with your ruler. You can do either. Now, Stacy told us that when he paper pieces, he takes the thread out of his needle.
Yes.
And he takes his template. And can you see that I just stitched with my needle with no thread?
Yes.
And that will make it very easy to perforate when you're ready to tear it off, especially if you don't have like newsprint to print it on at home. If you're
Stacey's
using,
quite the smart dude,
he really is, right? So
He uses
actually,
his brain.
that's a really good idea. It works really well. The other 2 points for paper piecing is it helps to have a larger needle. A lot of people recommend a size 90, especially if you're using thicker paper, because it makes a bigger hole, will make your paper tear off easier. And to shorten your stitch length, because when you start tearing your paper off, your stitches at the end of your seam may come apart a bit more. So shorten your stitch length, and that will also put your holes closer together and make it easier to tear off.
Yes.
But this one is going to tear off relatively easy because it's a very simple one. And it doesn't have tiny little slivers. Those are the ones that are, I can't say what I was going to say. It's a pain in the butt. And that isn't what I was going to say. So, to start, another thing that's helpful, but you don't have to have it, is a glue pen. I don't use, on something this size, I don't use anything. I don't pin or anything. I just take it to the machine and do it, right? But for your first one, you may want to. So
it is recommended for paper piecing to glue that first one down.
It is. So I call the side of your paper that has your drawing on it the right side. Just for
reference.
So for your very first piece, you always have to figure out if it's not a pattern that comes numbered. Our last piece that we're going to put on is going to be this piece, because we want that to cut across every single one of these. So we're going to start, and we're going to call this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's the order you're going to sew your pieces on. Okay? So your very first piece, you're going to put wrong sides together. So the wrong side of the fabric and the wrong side of the paper. Do you agree?
Yes.
So if you're using a glue stick, just put a little dab of glue. And you just have to make sure that wherever you put this on your paper, that it's going to cover that whole piece and have a seam allowance left. So because we did this, now if you look at that, that's barely enough for my seam allowance up there. But it is enough.
Yeah.
So probably it would have been wiser if I had moved this down a hair, because it's only got to have a seam allowance below here all the way around, right? So it could have went down a little bit further. Okay, so that's your first piece. You glue that down. Your second piece, so this one I just pinned together, but we're going to take it off now. So that's the only time that you put wrong sides together. From here on out, it's always right sides together. So the next piece, so you don't stitch this one yet. You're going to wait. So now we're going to number 2. We're going to fold this down. This is where you could trim this now.
Do you want to get my mat and do it? Did we
So that
bring
you could see your,
show them? Yeah.
yeah. So this is where this lip on this comes in handy, because when you fold this back, if you slide this, that lip is going to hit there, and that is actually your 1/4 inch seam allowance.
We have them, Sandy.
We do. They come in 2 sizes. They come
I'm
in,
talking about the glue.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, we have those too. So there's your seam allowance. So now where's my paper, my piece of fabric? This. So this is going to be our next one. So if you put that right on there, the thing you've got to watch now is this is going to be the piece we've got to cover. So we've got to have the 1/4 inch here, here, and here. And where I've got that laying, you test it with it like this.
Do you want to pin it and flip it up to show them?
So you can tell right away that this is going off the fabric.
Right.
So that is too
High.
high. We got to move it down. All we need here is a 1/4 inch down here.
You've got to have something above.
Yeah. So now we've got, so this is our piece. So I'm just going to put a pin there and I'm going to flip it so you can see. Can I put a pin right there, do you think? Or,
I got to stitch.
or do you want to?
Want me to just stitch it?
Yeah. So I just want you to see that when you flip it, this piece is the number 2 piece right here. So there's the number 2. You've got a 1/4 inch up here, a 1/4 inch there, and a 1/4 inch right there. So we could come up a little bit if you're a little worried about it, right about there. And it's definitely wide enough to have your 1/4 inch there. So now you're going to take it to your machine and you're going to stitch across there.
You going to make me do it?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, take the plate off.
And I'm going to move this stuff. Woo! That was my butt.
Did I hit it? I couldn't tell. It's so tiny.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, you want me to stitch?
Yes, I want you to stitch.
And I'm going to start right on this.
Okay, your light's glaring. I don't know how I can. Okay, let me
Right
see.
there.
So you can start a bit before that line.
Yes.
Because it would just be out in the seam allowance. It's not the
and
end
I
of the
did.
world. Yeah.
I did. So
Yeah.
I'll come back just a little. Right there.
Yeah.
Make sure your seams are here. See how they're lined up?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to stitch on that line. Oh, did I make my stitch smaller? I didn't. Okay. And I'm going to stop right at. Do you back stitch?
I don't. Some people do. If you look online, you'll see people say, "Oh, I always backstitch," or "No, I never do."
Okay. And when we flip that open,
And do a little finger press.
you could press it at this point with an iron.
You could. Just don't use steam when you're using
Right.
paper because it'll distort your paper quite a bit.
So then I'm going to take it over here
And she's going to fold that back.
and I'm going to bring my ruler over,
And she's going to,
butt it up, and trim it.
there we go.
And then I'm going to take my next color and I'm going to lay it. Which one do you want me to do?
Whatever you, there's that one and, wait a minute. Yep, that one and, yep, that's next.
So I'm
there.
going to lay it here.
These are just scraps. They're not necessarily.
I'm going to show you over here. I've got lots of space up and above and below, I mean. And then I'm going to take it over to the machine. I'm right on my line.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you start here or here.
No. And she's just going to stitch down there. So I typically do a couple stitches out into the seam allowance on both sides. That's me.
Okay, I'll do another one.
Well, you don't have to. It's just me. Because then when you rip the paper, if it rips out the first stitch or so, it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. You're still... So now she's finger pressing.
Or you can use those rollers.
Yes,
Those rollers for
yeah,
for paper
yeah.
piecing are really helpful.
So now she's going to flip it over, and she's going to fold for
Fold
the
my
next
page
one.
up.
Use her ruler. So this is where if you don't have the ruler, you can draw a line and cut it with your scissors. You can eyeball it.
You can actually just
Use
put
your
this
ruler. Yep, and put a quarter
and
of
get
an
your
inch.
quarter inch there.
You can. Yep.
And then I'm going to bring, and I'm going to put my next piece of fabric.
Yep.
Right sides down. Flip it over to check it. Yeah, because I'm coming down. We're good.
Yeah. So see, Deb's like me. She doesn't pin that or glue that at that point because this is a fairly small block. You can hold it pretty steady in your fingers. But if
it was a big one,
was a big one, maybe on this next one you can show her show them just how to stick a pin in it, even if they don't have a glue stick.
And then we're going to flip it up.
So if you had a glue stick, you would put a little bit of glue
right here.
Yeah.
And then it holds it down and holds it flat.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bigger piece, it does work better.
So now you do have a spot now where she's going to trim down here. Because see all these kind of bulky, ragged edges there? Now she's going to saw that off. Just like that. And now, here's our bottom piece.
And I'm going to center it there. You didn't give me none too much.
Oh, maybe I didn't. Maybe I grabbed the wrong piece.
Yeah,
here, wait.
it's not going to work. I need a bigger piece.
Wait. I've got all kinds of those scraps that I brought, right? What did I do with them?
I don't know, but you laid everybody on my cotton mat. So they're seeing black. We'll just cut another. I got this one. This will work, Twyla. Well, I think this will work. It's the same color as the other piece of fabric, though.
Oh, wait. Well, what did I do with all those scraps? I brought a whole pile to put in the scrap bucket.
I'll go get one. I know where I put it.
Yeah, but where did I put it? I don't know. Holy cow, guys. I had a whole pile of those scraps. So she could show you with this one. It's just not with a different fabric. Nancy says she sews about 1/4 of an inch before and after. And I don't know if I do 1/4, but that was me when I set it down, guys. Sorry, I wasn't thinking.
I just found a piece of white. I don't know where the scrap
Oh, I don't know what I did with those. I asked you if...
I know.
And I don't see them.
This'll work, won't it?
Yeah, that'll work. It's not going to be the prettiest block, but it'll show.
No, but we're not using this block
Oh,
anyway.
she's even using the salvage.
Well, I can cut that off.
Then it's going to be too short. Suppose.
Can't imagine we do something wrong.
There we go.
Gonna lay that there.
Yep. And hope that it covers the point.
Yeah. And then we're gonna come here and sew it. So I'm catching each one of those seams as I go across.
So that sort of seals that seam.
Yeah. And then we're gonna open it up like this.
It does. Just barely.
I planned that. So then, I'm anxious to see what you tell them next, because what we do. And I would probably put a piece of glue stick there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There or there.
Or you can use, if you don't have a glue stick, stick a straight pin.
Yeah.
Anchor it
But
down.
it
Do
is
something.
easier.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So now,
What do you do?
I don't sew like you do.
I know.
So there's 2 schools of thought there too.
Yep.
So you can trim your block,
Yeah.
but I know, Deb, before you trimmed, you would probably stitch that, wouldn't you? Inside of the...
I tend to.
Yes. So inside of the
2
seam
sides.
allowance.
I would go in here.
And I'll tell you after why I don't like doing that.
It's harder to get the paper.
It's harder to get the paper out, and that's what I hate about paper piecing. So I don't do any step that's going to make it harder for my paper.
I'm just going to do 2 sides to show the difference.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. So I'm going to trim that off.
But if you do that, you definitely have...
You know what I'm doing? I did something that they should not do.
You cut
No.
on the wrong side.
No, I'm just saying, don't use this ruler to really cut because it's easy to roll up on
Because
that.
on that
that
side, if you were
beveled
going to
edge.
use it to cut, use the thicker
Use the
edge.
side, because you will damage your ruler that
Yeah,
way.
and if you look at that one, you'll notice I've already done that.
So don't cut along the
Yeah,
the
because
narrow
it's so
edge.
narrow that your cutter will go right on it.
Yeah.
So the important thing, if you are going to stitch like she did, is make sure it stays within your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Don't stitch right on the 1/4 inch
Right.
mark.
And I want to show you too on this little ruler. If it's a little bit hard to see, when you go to trim, don't look out here. Follow your 1/4 line on this.
Right, because if you
This
trim
line
a hair off of the paper, if that's on your 1/4 inch seam, you're fine.
Right. So if you follow your here for your 1/4 inch, you get a more accurate cut.
So what Deb did, sewing in the seam allowance, definitely keeps your block together better for when you put it together.
But it is harder.
But it is harder to get.
So see how this, like this,
Is a bit floppy.
and mine is all sewn in.
Yeah.
It's just a preference. I mean,
So I do know that my very first paper piecing, I sewed all of them, and it was easier to get the pieces together without them flopping. But now that I've paper pieced
but
a bit.
I have to say that sometimes when you're sewing that and you're trying to fit that into a curve piece, it takes sometimes
Take some of your give
away.
Yeah.
So that's great to do that on a straight edge, but I don't find if you're sewing it into a curve,
which a lot of paper piecing
is curved
or it's making like an odd shape or of some kind.
But for straight seams, I like to do it just because it's easier.
So when it comes to tearing off your paper, most people leave the paper on until an edge is attached to another edge. So when you attach, now I took those off because it's a very small block, but when you're doing a big full paper piecing, and if they're tricky pieces. But anyway, so that's 2 different ways that you can finish off the edge of your block. But the important thing is to remember to judge your paper before you start, that you have enough, right? That it's going to cover your area that you're sewing and allow a 1/4 inch all the way around.
And
for
if
your
you
seam
have
allowance.
to take it out, it's really not going to hurt it. If you and if you think it has distorted it, just put a piece of Scotch tape over it and sew over the Scotch tape.
Yes.
You don't have to redraw your whole block. If you make a mistake and have to take things out, just tape them together.
Yeah. Now, tape will make it harder
to
pull the paper off.
It will.
Yeah.
But it keeps you from having to draw another block. But if you're going to do this, just photocopy a couple to begin with.
Yeah. Your worst places for taking the paper off is in your
Seam where you've joined. Yeah. This one will come off easy. These come off easy. It's at the seams that it's a little bit trickier.
It's a little bit
So
trickier.
do you wet yours?
So you can do, some people use tweezers. Right?
Yes, some people
there are little tweezers you can buy, or even just normal eyelash tweezers, whatever, eyebrow tweezers or whatever, to pull out those little corners. If you have one that's stuck really bad and you are pulling and pulling and pulling and it's not coming out, if you take like a Q-tip or the Acorn precision pin with just water in it, and daub on it to soak the paper a little bit, then it will come. It'll let go.
Yeah, if you had another pen, there are pens. With
water
pens.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. But a Q-tip works fine. Like just dunk your Q-tip in a little bit of water and just dab it on and it'll come off.
A tip for Audrey. When you're posting your blocks tomorrow morning, we'll never know if you tear the paper off. So just put it down there and pretend to tore the paper off.
Yeah, exactly.
To save you a couple of minutes.
So you can, when I post this later tonight, I will post approximate sizes for your scraps that will give you enough to cover your piece. But if you're working out of your scrap bucket, just grab some and lay it there. And like, you don't even really need to cut them a precise size. Like just grab a yank and lay it there and see what you've got, right? Like most of those, if you had like a 2.5 inch strip, you're going to have plenty, right? It's just a matter of judging your length or whatever, right?
Yeah, it is a good way to use up scraps.
It is. So, I know that was a bit whatever, but It's going to put you out of your comfort zone.
Who was talking to Jesus back there?
Oh, who's talking to
I know
Jesus?
somebody was talking to Jesus over this paper piecing. So tonight, if you need help, talk to Jesus again.
So that isn't the prettiest one, but we used what we had right here. But that's the idea.
Yeah.
And then when you get your two, they're going to butt together so that your diamonds
Meet right at the point.
meet right at the point. So if you look at mine, I used the same fabric for each one. But you don't have to. You could use a whole array of different fabrics the whole way across, whatever you want.
It could be like a sunshine, all different shades of yellow, if you were doing scrappy.
Yeah, whatever you want, right? So, I don't know where my... There, this is the one, I guess.
Carmel says,
what do I do
great
with this?
instructions, Philo.
Well, I don't know if it's great instructions, but anyway. Yeah, so I did the same ones in the same place on the two. And then they just staggered when you set them together, right? But you don't have to do that. You could use 8 different fabrics. So, that's your homework. The snowball bush. I'm gardening tonight. The snowball block, apparently snowball bush. Snowball block, the split cube block that you make 2 of these 4.5-inch ones, and you can join those together because they go together in the quilt, side by side. Where's my other, the zigzag thing?
zigzag.
Where did that go? Oh, there it is. There it is. The zigzag block.
You're going to ask where that phone is later. I see.
I know. The zigzag block.
Yeah.
And the paper piecing block.
There you
So,
go.
it'll be a little bit before I get the instructions posted, but they'll be posted later tonight when I get home.
Heather Waybright has a fire hosta that she needed to see that paper piecing again. It's 10 years old.
I can tell you right now that if you're doing a fire hosta, you don't need to watch my directions. You've obviously paper pieced before, because I'm not doing a fire hosta.
Yet.
You guys should have seen my first paper piecing.
It was a deer, wasn't it?
Yes, I'd never paper pieced. Ever, ever, ever.
But you rocked it.
Like, and I went like full tilt. Got a pattern that was this big and enlarged, had it enlarged at the print shop to be this big of a deer. Like it was
a big deer head. It was for somebody. It was for a friend.
It was for somebody. But I'm telling you, like I hated that so
Well, that's
bad.
why you hate paper piecing. You started out with such a terrible thing.
I did. I really did.
Everybody's starting with these little blocks. They're just going to get inspired to keep paper piecing, because paper piecing is relaxing. Once you figure out the method to it, it's really relaxing.
Now, I can tell you that if you have it took me a while, and you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but it took me a while to figure out. I would almost always lay my fabric wrong
The
so
very
that when
first
it
one.
flipped up, it wasn't like when you needed your extra length going up this way, I had it going down this way. Like it took me a while to get it in your head, like that backwards look that.
Yeah, so photocopy that block, because if you mess that
Yeah,
up,
but
then-
like if you draw just 2 or whatever, photocopy a couple, because I can almost guarantee you if you've never paper pieced, you're going to make a mistake the first time.
Yes, Amanda and Marilyn love paper piecing.
It's not bad.
It is, Shirley. It is relaxing once you just sit there. Yeah, I agree with Shirley.
And I find it so aggravating picking the paper. Like when you just piece blocks, once you get them pieced, they're done. And you paper piece, and then you're picking paper and picking paper
I
and picking
know,
paper
but
and
it's
picking
so
paper.
worth it. The accuracy is so worth it.
It is. And there are certain blocks you cannot piece.
Because my
Like-
middle name should be accuracy, because that's how I roll.
Right. Right. Got the BS rolling off her tongue tonight.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's it
guys.
for tonight, isn't it? We're headed into the shop.
Yeah, we are.
We're going into play, just to look around.
Yeah. So I will post directions there in a bit when I get home. So have patience.
Yeah, and when I let her go home, then she'll post the directions.
So start on your zigzag block, because you know that those are 2.5 by 4.5.
There,
With 2
there
and a
you go,
half inch-
Audrey. There's your
And
hint.
2.5-inch squares for the corners. So start on those.
Yes. Before you get home, Audrey, I'll have that done.
I know, right? You probably have all 4 done, knowing her. Even without the directions, right?
Okay, good night, everybody.
See you next
Thank you
Monday,
for joining
unless
us.
something breaks or comes undone. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good night.